Hi, this is Amoroso. I want to welcome you to Tag Talk. Today, I want to talk about something somewhat grave, and that's an attack at scale that I'm expecting to come perhaps at the United States or maybe at global infrastructure, but I think the US will be a real big target. Let me explain what I mean. It has to do with OT infrastructure. OT mean operational technology, industrial control systems, tangible infrastructure that can be attacked in sort of a kinetic or physical way. This is not, you know, taking out your files or, locking up your PC. This is taking a factory out or turning the lights off in a building or suppressing the safety system in some big industrial complex. These are much more tangible, frankly, more frightening kinds of attacks. I've been doing these models both in my work at TAG and also at New York University, where I'm a professor in the computer science and engineering department. The models kind of follow this cadence where we see things happen that are new, an attack that's new. Then there's a period of calm followed by seeing that attack at scale. Like the first time we saw a worm, 1988, it was interesting. It was very close to that. It was a graduate student working at Bell Labs, and his dad, Bob Morris Sr., was actually one of my supervisors at the time. So we saw a long period of calm after that. And then in 2003, lots of worms at scale. Similarly, in 1999, we saw the first DDoS attack at scale, targeted the University of Minnesota. Then a long period of calm. And then in 2012, big attacks at scale. Like we see this cadence all the time. 2010, we saw something called Stuxnet. It was this attack that blew my mind. I mean, it was the idea of going after an Iranian nuclear facility. Does that sound familiar? And it was done not with airplanes or bombs or drones, it was done electronically. The presumption is that the US and Israel did it. Who knows? There's really no formal attribution, but that's what the community basically assumes. We've had a long period of calm now. I'd say it's been 15 years. I think we're ready to see Stuxnet at scale, and I don't think our OT or industrial control infrastructure is ready. Now, let me tell you what I think worries me. There's three things that worry me the most about industrial control. The first is that they're protected with a perimeter. That ITOT gateway that we talk about frequently is a damn perimeter. For God's sakes, we know perimeters don't work. You've got insiders, you've got holes through the perimeter, you got ways around the perimeter, all true for OT and industrial control. I think it's a sitting duck for something like Stuxnet. Again, at scale means it doesn't happen once, it happens relentlessly. It happens to multiple targets, and I just feel that coming either in 25, second half, or into 26. So that gateway, that idea of we're still using a perimeter for OT is a really bad idea. The second is we still see a lot of legacy crap, SCADA, old-fashioned Purdue model stuff. Give me a break. Stuff we do in 1970. And it's still there. Like if you close your eyes and think of an image of a nuclear power plant, like the control center, think these analog sort of gray dashboards that you'd see in an old movie, like from 3 Mile Island. That stuff is still there in many cases. I mean, give me a break. Again, talk about a sitting duck. This is not modern stuff. And don't give me this, well, it's old, so you can't attack it. By using the old generation stuff, hackers can't get in. That's called security through obscurity, and we know that doesn't work. Just an insider alone would be one problem that wouldn't be fixed, by just depending on obscurity. Give me a break. So that worries me. But maybe the most of all, the thing that worries me about industrial control and OT is that they're being redesigned. Now, they're being redesigned because we have AI, we have automation, and frankly, we have new sources of power. You see a lot of these industrial control facilities being built around sustainable energy. I know it's not fashionable right now to talk about sustainability. You say that probably half of you watching me cringe, but it's good business. Amazon, Apple, Google, these companies, Microsoft, they're building their data centers and industrial control facilities around sustainable sources like geothermal in Texas or solar panels or all these types of new forms of energy, which means you're redesigning the infrastructure. And in 43 years of doing this kind of work, trust me, Their vulnerabilities are introduced when you do a massive redesign. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. I'm not saying don't automate. I'm not saying don't bring robots in. But when you do it, you become vulnerable. That transition is a point of attack. So you combine those three things: gateway, legacy crap, massive transition, 15 years since we last saw Stuxnet. Give me a break. There's like a blinking red light. So look, if you're in industrial control, there's a few things you better do. Number one, you better throw more resources at protecting what's there, especially if there's life or safety consequence. Two, you better dust off your incident response plan and practice. Get a red team in there and play through what you would do if you start to see some external hacker using a Stuxnet-like attack and gaining control of, say, your safety system or your control system or your actuators or your motors. What would you do? This is important. And third, share this video with your management. You need to make sure that budget cuts or other things we're dealing with in our industry don't leave you more vulnerable, especially if you're an industry like nuclear or something that, if attacked, could have real consequence. So listen, I hope you take this seriously. If you work in that area, this is the time to fix things. Don't have me coming back in a few months saying, I told you so. I don't want to say I told you so. I want you to take preventive action. So see what you can do. And as always, let me close by saying like and subscribe. We like to see that you're out there. We like to see that you're engaged in our channel, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.